So my name is Omar Abasad. It is 7:59 p.m., October 6, 2020. And I just blogged or tweeted a video of myself coming home. So I'm going to give you an example of, or a sample, I should say, of the red alert. So the power was turned up on me throughout my trip. And I didn't use my detector even though I had it with me. I was too busy. So, but here is the red alert, and my heart and chest is tagged. So I was in pain for the last 2.5 hours, and throughout the day actually. But during the day when I'm home, I shield. So I demonstrated that the shielding works, so the pain level is not high. Um, since I came in and I was walking, I will not take my blood pressure because there was physical activity. So it's not going to be a clean read. So I will not show the blood pressure. It is high because I was carrying my grocery bags and I was walking for the last few hours. I was on my feet. So, plus these signals. So, yes, it will be high, but it's not going to be exclusively from the signals. So, I will not show you the blood pressure. But yeah, here are the signals on my chest that I've been tweeting about all day. My eyes, the other eye, the ear, jaw, and this area here was tagged the last 2 days, and it was extremely painful. It's the pain I was feeling for the last few days was the equivalent of getting um, your neck thrown out and like a sprain on your neck. And every time I turn it, you get that sharp, excruciatingly sharp pain. So this is what I've been experiencing all day and night. So I put magnets on, and I also use a castor oil patch for people who are suffering from inflammation. Castor oil patch is like magic. I had a castor oil patch on there all night, and I had some magnets on there as well. And it was like 50 to 75% better overnight. So what the castor oil does, and the oil of oregano does the same thing. So I'm going to start a YouTube video series of alternative treatments, and I'm going to take some courses in alternative treatments, given COVID and everything. But I'm going to talk about the things that I'm using on myself and what I experience. So you can do your own research and help yourself. But I'm gonna do a YouTube series from my point of view, my experience, how I feel. I'm going to use the herbs, do the research on the herbs from people who know, like Dr. Shiva, um, Aridai. Sorry, I didn't pronounce that right, but I'll post. I think I posted some of his links. Um, he talks about alternative treatments. Dr. Deepak Chopra and Mercola, Dr. Mercola, and there are others. Um, so these are very, very educated successful people. They've used their education to build very, very successful businesses, and so they are in the know. So they are very reliable sources of information. So, anyways, that's one of the things I'm going to do while I'm trying to find an appropriate job to do from home. Because working in an office environment is not the best thing for me. So I'm trying to find something to work from home. But while I do that, you got to find time. You got to do other things as well. So anyway, yeah. So the spot is still tagged, and it's kind of like jabbing you with a spear in your jugular vein every time you turn your head. That's the kind of pain I feel, have been feeling for the last 2 days. And it's still tagged. So my shoulder and my arm. My back. So in the store, because it is an experiment, and it's amazing that with COVID-19 going on, and that's my upper back, and I figured out that there's a lump on the nape of my neck, and it's actually not a lump, it's a swelling that when I apply anti-inflammatory rubs like castor oil, it actually goes down. So that was an interesting finding. That's because that spot was tagged, and it's tagged to make me look hunchbacked, round shoulders, masculine, in other words. So, yeah. So here is my heart, the middle, right down the middle of the chest. So I've had a lot of black people um, follow me around or try to get my attention. I've had a couple of black people look at me directly and say, "Come." They said, the guy looked at me and said, "Come," out of the blues. It's a perfect stranger. Um, of course, I ignored it. But the report that is out there, or one of some of the reports, are saying that I'm mentally retarded. So these are the people who are trying to pick up a mentally retarded woman. So the names Rick Ranty have license for me, licenses, and I'm technically bankrupted. I've been declared mentally ill and bankrupted already. So this is the group of people who are operating as if they're in a communist country, as I said before. The community is taking control of an individual and suppressing the person's voice, and working um, externally to make things happen, force you into what the community wants you to do. So that's communism. And I did a lot of tweets today about communism. And some of those tweets goes back to Pierre Trudeau and his connections with Castro and his very close connections, I should say, to Castro. I posted some links about how misinformation is spread by mainstream media. For instance, Pierre Trudeau married Margaret Sinclair at the time, back in um, what was it, 19 whatever, I can't remember exactly. And then he was, according to what I read, he was honeymooning in BC, and and then um, uh, he had Justin Trudeau came along, and then the other kids came along, but nothing was mentioned about them going to the Caribbean in April of the same year they were married. And they were in Barbados. And actually, Pierre Trudeau visited Trinidad, and that's where I'm from. And then he met with Eric Williams. Now, Eric Williams was the first prime minister after Trinidad got independence from England. So Pierre Trudeau visited Trinidad. Um, anyway, there's a lot of connections that I'm not going to go into. But speaking of how information is not clear when you read some articles in mainstream media and very well known magazines and so on, there are things that is mentioned that is just not true, or is painting what happened in a certain light. The rumor, because Justin Trudeau had such a undeniable resemblance to Castro. The rumor is that Castro could be related. So I delved into it a little bit because I wanted to know. I was curious. But then I learned in the Wikipedia, Margaret Trudeau has a write up in Wikipedia, and there's a link in note 19 that actually provided evidence that she and her husband, after having a first honeymoon in BC, went on a second honeymoon in the Caribbean in April of the same year. So yeah, there was travel back and forth to the Caribbean, Barbados, Trinidad, Tobago, the Grenadines, and of course Cuba is in the vicinity. Um, so yeah, I mean there are connections there. Um, and it all goes back to conspiracies, and I'm not going to go into conspiracies. I'm not into conspiracies. The reason I do my own research is because I don't believe conspiracies. But and I'm really digressing here. Um, I was talking about what I tweeted today, um, and how I use my time, because it's all related to present day happenings, because we are practicing, we are under a social democracy. And a social democracy is, I guess, a combination of socialism and democracy. So a compromise, if you will. But when it's leaning too far left, it becomes communism. So right now we're seeing that lean to the left. And so I went back and I researched it and found out, of course, that Justin Trudeau also has some really positive opinion about Castro and how China does things. So there is a definite communistic lean to his psyche. And of course, he has a close relationship, or the family had a close relationship with Castro, and his father had a really close relationship with Castro. So the indoctrination, whether there is a blood relationship, is neither here nor there, but there is indoctrination. There is a communistic indoctrination that took place between Pierre Trudeau and Castro, and the two, Pierre Trudeau and Castro and Justin Trudeau. So there is an indoctrination there. Whether the rumor that Castro was his father is true or not, who knows? But they the indoctrination is definitely there, and that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a lean towards communism, and this is what's being practiced in the building right now. This is part of the experiment. These signals are microwave signals, and they cause pain, and it's torture, and it's rape, and it's meant to force you into conforming for the common good. Everybody gets to tell you what to do. You have to do what the majority says. You have to do what everybody else says and does. In other words, you have to be just like everybody else, common for the common good. This is this is communism, and it's being brought about it covertly. We are operating in a so-called social democracy, but really, what we're living is communism. It's in a communism system, a communistic system, or it's being forced into being communism. And this is where I support President Trump. Um, Definitely, I don't think he believes in any form of communism or world governance. And there should not be a world governance. There should be agencies like the World Health Organization that coordinates and gives advice. But countries should not be held to any sort of treaties or agreements that forces the countries to abide by anything that global agencies put out there. If there is an agreement that Canada has to abide by these laws that the World Health Organization puts out, then this agreement should not be. We should opt out of it. We should not have a foreign body telling us what to do inside of our country. You can't standardize global health. The countries are too different. The people in the countries are too different. The systems are different. The thinking are different. Our cultures are different. Our systems are different. There is no way that standardization is going to work. So we are being forced into it. Anyway, so still tagged. And I will take my blood pressure readings in a little while.